tuning in today, everyone. I just want to let you know my book is out and available on Amazon and Barnes& Noble. The name is Parents, Our Greatest Teachers. And now, back to our episode. Hello, everyone. This is your host, Alex Belgood, and this is a little bit of a combination. We're doing a Instagram live or a reel, whatever you want to call it. And we have my really amazing good friend, Erika Hinojosa. You guys know her already. She was on our podcast on our, first edition, first year. And that's why we're here. Welcome, Erika. Thank you for joining me today.
Yes, I'm so glad to be here. I'm excited.
Yes.
Are you ready? Are you ready for your interview?
I am ready. Yes, go for it.
We're going to switch things up today. I'm going to be asking you the questions.
Yes.
And I'm actually really excited about this because I was thinking about when we would talk about this podcast, when you would talk about this podcast, and you were trying to get me to do a podcast with you for the longest time.
I'm still
and
trying.
Unfortunately, life is a little crazy for me. But I'm enjoying your podcast and listening to it, and it has been, I think, very successful for you. I mean, it's been a whole year already. This has been like years in the making. So maybe we can just jump right into the questions here. So let's do a recap. How is the podcast life going?
It's been really cool and exciting. The only thing is that, and I've talked to you about this before and other people, that as it's a little bit different from like being a writer or being a dancer or being a painter or whatever it is, the type of art that you do. And this one is just kind of like there on the cloud where everybody can listen to it whenever they want. It's like forever, right? And so like I never know who's listening. I do get some stats and from the places they listen to my podcast, and I know there's like a random person in Yemen that listens to me, and so I'm really grateful for that one person that listens to me there. And it'll be cool to actually see who they are. Why do they listen to me? So it's one of these types of media that I could see where people are listening from, like different countries, and geographically, I guess. But I never get a feedback. It's very randomly, unless it's like a friend that they're like, oh, that episode was great, or I really like this or that. But other than that, it's kind of hard to know how well or how not well I'm doing. So it's been a really cool ride to go through this whole past year, because I get to talk to people around the world and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm still super excited about it. I think it's like very new for me.
Yeah, for sure. 1 year in, and how many episodes now?
It's now, I just uploaded this past Monday, the 37.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
That was a lot of work. It sounds like 37 is very little, like a very small number, but at least for me, it was a lot of work because I do a lot of like, editing and promoting, and like I am like the producer and like the writer and the lighting lady and
you're a one-woman show.
Yeah, so I mean, most of the podcasters do it that way because we're still not making, I guess, the big bucks to have all this crew as Joe Rogan, I guess. But we're aiming for that little by little.
Yeah, it takes years, I imagine, to build that level of viewership and people just being involved. And yeah, I'm sure it takes a long time, a lot of sweat and tears to get to that point. But I'm sure you'll get there. I mean, you're here now, you were talking about it just a few years ago, and you kept talking about it, and you found a way to make it happen and make it all come together. And now here I am interviewing you all about it. Um,
Yes.
so do you have a favorite episode?
Ooh. Well, it's one of those, they're all my little babies. I can't really pick one. There was a lot of them. I mean, all of them, I took something away from them, but, you know, personality wise, you get really cool people. And um, I guess the two of them that were like very impactful for me was Mark Gover. He talks about consciousness. Shout out to him. I'm
Mhm.
freaking like a big fan. I can't help it. He
Mhm.
also has 2 or 3 books now, and he has his own podcast. He's very successful on what he does, and just like, he has so much information about the world on itself that it was very insightful to talk to him. And also, one of my ultimates too. And as I said, not taking away from all the other 30 something guests, but Haiti Toy was like also one of my really, really cool guests. She's full of just amazing information. If you guys have the chance to check her out, she's on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. She has so much information when, in regards of like nutrition and health and all that. So I
Mhm.
was like a big, big fan. So from a fan to being kind of like their peer afterwards, it feels really good. It just makes me feel, like we're all the same, you
Yeah.
know. So it's cool. I really enjoy those.
Yeah, you've had some really interesting guests. The one that I still remember the most from the episodes that I've listened to is the the dude that would jump out of the planes that had MS.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that, his whole thing just stuck with me so much because it it takes you right back. It just gives you perspective,
Yes.
and you think that your life is hard or things are hard, and maybe they are. Of course, everyone hard is, different for looks different for
Hmm.
everybody. Um, but that is like a whole other level of like taking life, grabbing, life by the horns and just
Yeah.
going through it, and the amount of passion and love that you have to have for yourself
Yeah.
and for life to live the way he does, and then not only that but share his story and
Hmm.
inspire others. It just, wow,
Yeah.
it blew my mind.
Yeah. I really like him. Um, you're talking about Dr. Kevin Payne, and
Hmm.
he's also a professional skydiver. And
Hmm.
yeah, like taking life literally mind, body, and soul into his hand, and just, sharing that perspective of like, I am going to leave how I really wanted to leave. It was really cool. I really enjoy his conversation. He's been a guest on the podcast a couple of times, and I'm sure he'll do some other interviews with me. He has like so much to share and to teach us that, yeah, he was really, really cool one.
Oh yeah, his perspective on life, it's just so different.
Mhm.
That's what makes him such a special and unique individual, because you can have anyone can have an ailment or a disease or a disorder, and how you handle it and how you
Mhm.
process it and how you move forward with it, it just can mean life or death, and for
Yeah.
him, he's just chosen life over and over and over, and it's just
Yeah.
such a, yeah, that was such a neat story. Um, so how has the podcast changed your life in the last year?
Yes. Well, as I mentioned before, I have been able to talk to people around the world. And I think that for me was a huge thing because, um, as a dancer, it's just as a person, I've traveled the world so many times and I met and so many people in other cultures and things like that. But being able to talk to experts in regards of health, mind, body, and soul, to me was like a dream come true. I've been in the health system for a long time. Um, as many of you that have listened to my podcast or that know me knows that my mom, she's a nurse. So from a very young age, I've been in the friggin' like medical health just environment. And as growing up working with uh, orthopedic doctors, holistic practitioners, chiropractors, physical therapists, being myself a massage therapist. I mean, and just talking to all these other experts and what they do, all these modalities, I think it was just great for me. I just feel like a little kid in a candy store being able to talk to all these people. So it's been, yeah, it's been definitely a dream come true, especially for all of you that know or might not know one of our guests, Laura Powers. I
Mhm.
mean, she's been podcasting for like about now 12 years, 11, 12 years now. She's one of the biggest in the business. And I listened to her for such a long time. And now for me being here and, you know, that I could say that she's my mentor and that, I could message her if I have any questions and look up to her and all this is just like mind blowing. So yeah, being having that access to such a cool people and just it's just really cool. I think uh, we all have access to it, just that not a lot of us.
Mhm. So I have a couple of questions
Yeah.
that kind of go hand in hand. What inspired you to do this podcast? And
Mhm.
how do you go about choosing your guests?
What inspired me, it was kind of like a selfish thing because I just want to know, like, um, I'm that type of person that I just want to know more. Knowledge to me is definitely power. The more I know, I feel like I can take on the world, and especially knowing medical stuff and different health modalities and uh, you know, just anything that goes in regards of health and wellness. I'm just like super obsessed about it. I feel like we live in a world where there's a lot of illness and disease for no reason, and due to our mostly of our Western medicine that going back to roots, going back to what our ancestors did, cultures, in China and Mexico and Europe, that did for the longest time, and it works so well. I think going back to our roots when it comes to health, I think has been proved that uh, It works a little bit more than medicine at times. Not taking away from sometimes you have a broken elbow, you gotta go fix it.
Right.
None of the good herbs by rubbing it are gonna fix it.
Mhm.
But I think it should be one of those try to balance both worlds. I think we would have been a healthier world if we can just come to that. And
Yeah.
the second part,
Mhm.
how I choose my guests. Well, I think I just some people I have just met randomly through social medias. I think I love social media. I think it's a great way to just speak to people in India or in Australia, New Zealand, France, Italy, Africa, um, just anywhere. And so I've been in contact with a lot of people around the world, experts that that their mission is to spread the word, and I just provide the mediums for them to reach other audiences. So, you know, if you're cool enough to ask it, just send me an email.
Okay, what have you learned? What has doing this podcast taught you? And would you change anything?
Well, I think the first thing it taught me was that I am a very outgoing person. I feel, I like to be with a lot of people. I like to talk. I like to have fun and all that. But when it came down to interview experts, it really showed me a lot about myself and how, you know, unprepared I was.
Yeah.
And so, but it took me a little bit of practice and just, you know, researching things, knowing about uh, more about like different things. It helped me. So it just really it showed me who I'm built for it and what I'm capable to do. So, but yeah, and it has taught me a lot about myself, and I guess changing anything, I think everything that has happened to me, building this podcast and creating it and all that, I think it has taught me so much of myself that I wouldn't change anything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess we can round out the questions with this last one. What are your plans for the future of this podcast? Where do you see it going? What do you think? Where do you think it's headed?
Yes. Dun, 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 dun. Yes, I am super excited. This past year, it was full of surprises, full of guests, full of people that I really admired and I had in my podcast. So this coming up year is going to be full of more surprises and more experts. And some of our experts that we had, as I said, we probably will have Dr. Kevin Payne again. Heidi Toe, she's a big one, and some other guests that will come and explain some of the modalities that we're using in our times about health and healing and all that. So I think for anyone that has not had the chance to listen to my podcast, just listen a little bit, see if you like it. I feel like I have such a variety of guests for everyone, in so many different topics. As I said, I target mind, body, and soul. So a lot of people are very into the scientific facts and things like that. So I bring guests that tackle those topics, and I also have some other experts that we call it the woo-woo experts that talk about more consciousness and quantum healing and things like that. Which, if you haven't heard of it, go right on to the podcast and give it a listen. It's really interesting to see how like mind, body, and soul are all connected. And so that's what keeps me uh you know inspired to keep looking for experts that a lot of people don't know about it. So that's pretty much, I guess, like one of my main goals, to always look for people and experts from anywhere in the world that are doing something different from what we're used to, that will have a really cool benefit for your health.
Yeah, definitely. I think you and I both connected with our shared experiences of uh, times where maybe Western medicine failed us or didn't really cut it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hit that point in um, when you're, in pain, or if you're not recovering or you're ill and they're
Mm-hmm.
either unable to figure it out, or um, pain medications aren't working and things like that, you start to look elsewhere. You start to look
Mm-hmm.
beyond that realm at the possibility of how you can heal yourself and become well and get out of where you're stuck. And your podcast, it reminds me a lot of that moment when I was looking for something else, when I no longer felt like I was being taken care of, and I sort of had to take my life into my own hands and heal myself. And at that time, there wasn't as much information or as much discussion really about alternative healing or options or methods. And a lot of the guests that you welcome and that you interview share a lot of these same experiences, which is a lot of times what gets them to go into their fields. And I love it. It's a great, it's nice to have this, podcast, to have this wealth of information really, and to listen, to different stories and different takes and different people that are sharing, ways that they healed, that they found, ways to overcome whatever was happening with them or to help others. And it's awesome. It's a great space for
Yeah,
that.
I love it. And we talk about it in the podcast all the time because, I bring all these different experts. And I always mention there, we're all different. And what works for me might not work for you. So there's so many ways and methods to look for and to try. And so, one of the things that we always say is like, don't give up if you're in some sort of like health condition or something that's happening, and we're not saying stop your whatever you have with your doctor, but what we're saying is that there's so many other ways of alternative healing that can be combined to what you're probably doing already. And have better results. And obviously, if one way of healing, whether it's Western or alternative, and it's not working for you, there's always a way. So, that's like the cool thing, not feel alone. There's a lot of people that goes through a lot of different illness and diseases. And as there's tons and tons of ways to go about things. So yeah, it's like, I love it. Hopefully everybody can just give it a listen, give it a like, give me feedback. I will really love to listen to all of you guys that listen to me around the world. Send me a message. I'm really good at messaging back on Instagram. Hit me up if there's something that you've been listening to and you're like, what is this? I always want to try it. Send me a message. I will definitely look for an expert for you, because as Erika said, it's just sometimes we come with this illness that medicine is not working, testing is not working, we don't know what it is, and then we come across this holistic healing that does work for us. So yeah, it's great for sure.
Yeah, and sometimes like you mentioned about mind, body, and soul, it's all connected. So sometimes something that is physically ailing you can be something that's happening spiritually or just from within, and sometimes healing that and approaching things just different in a different way can make all of the difference in somebody's, wellness.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm proud of you, and I am so excited to see this next year, what it looks like. And I wish you all the best, continued success. I'm looking forward to more podcasts and more interviews, and doing another 2-year anniversary next year. Doing another podcast to follow up on this one.
Thank you so much for always being by my side. I mean, even though I pushed you for years to do our own podcast, I know life takes us in a different way. But even though we're like on the other side of the country, you're in California, I'm in Texas, and so it doesn't matter. We're always together, and I love you for that. So thank you for all the supports. Thank you everyone for for listening. Hopefully you guys loved the first year, and I'm looking forward to do more and better things for you guys for the year number 2.
Yay!
Yay! Thank you, Ron. If anyone wants to look me up, you can always find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Look me up, Leap of Health. I'm Alex Belgood, and have a blessed day, everyone.